Haptics, personalized Siri, and smartphone intelligence for buyers. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by MacPaw, the makers of Clean My Mac, your ultimate solution for Mac control and care. Try Clean My Mac for 7 days free, then use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices. Well, moving into some of this week's highlights, the first one I wanted to call attention to was the new trailer for the F1 movie, the Apple TV Plus F1 movie that is being premiered in theaters in IMAX. There's a new version that has haptic features on the iPhone. And if you haven't tried this, try it. It's just fun. I'm not sure that it really makes you want to see the movie any more, any less, but it just is an interesting little promotional thing. Did anybody else try this? Okay, so Marty, Brian, what do you think?
I thought it was really neat. I wasn't sure how gimmicky it would be, but where the certain aspects where it was like a soft rumble of the engine or whatnot, it was, you could tell definitely the difference between that versus, when different scenes of smashing into a wall or something of that nature. So it was neat. I wonder if more trailers will be like this.
Yes, I agree with that completely. I agree with that was great for this. What could it do for others? Marty, how about you?
I actually am getting more and more excited about the movie, and my son and daughter are talking about taking me there for a belated Father's Day gift when it comes out to see it in IMAX. For those of you who don't know, a lot of that haptic stuff feels like diabetic neuropathy in your hands. So if you want that experience, it's interesting.
You are really selling it, Marty.
Yeah, I know. That's my special talent. It's interesting. It's fun to watch, and then associate the haptic experience with what's going on at the screen in the middle. So,
okay.
By the way, the tickets went instantly. I didn't even know about it till they were gone, but they did a showing of this on Tuesday night at the Steve Jobs Theater.
Oh, really?
And I know a couple people that went and were pretty blown away by both being in the theater and the movie.
That's interesting. Well, I did see this morning that I guess there was a special showing of I don't know if it was a premiere. I didn't pay that much attention, but there was a showing at least of it in New York last night, I guess, as we record this. Yeah, Tim Cook and Brad Pitt both showed up, and apparently as complete surprises. And so, that had to be, really, really kind of amazing. So Apple really is going all out with promoting this, and I just hope it pays off for them for obvious reasons, but also because I think we've talked about this before. I'm not into F1 that much. In fact, I'm not into it at all, but I want to go see this movie. And I would prefer to see it in IMAX to get the full experience. So there you go.
Yeah, Chuck, I saw the preview too. Really enjoyed it. I was an F1 fan to begin with, so I'm just all that more excited to get to it. And there's an IMAX theater about 6 blocks that way, so I'm looking forward to it. So
yeah, I have to go a little bit more out of my way, Webb, but yeah, I think it has the potential to be worth it, no question about it. I mean, if they've picked a great topic for a movie or subject for a movie for that experience, and if they put half the production into it that technologically is capable, it should be impressive. Dave, I haven't heard you say much about any of this. Are you an F1 person?
No, I'm not an F1 person. I mean, I watched it. I enjoyed seeing. I know it's kind of fake, but with Craig doing it during Dub Dub at the beginning, I'm curious. I didn't even realize it came out until just now. So, did you try it on the Vision Pro?
No, I hadn't. But I thought this could be. It'd be interesting once the movie is retail to be able to watch it on the Vision Pro, and whether it incorporates any of the haptic stuff on the Vision Pro in terms of what's coming out of the side speakers and the impact it's going to have. So
yeah, I'm going to try it after the show, just see what happens on at least the trailer.
Yeah.
Sort of in line with Dub, and I want to make very clear here that we're not beating on anybody or second guessing anybody, but since Apple's management did not make appearances on the talk show at WWDC, they were making the rounds other places, and one of those places, throwing the links in right now, was a Tom's Guide discussion, Tom's Guide and Tech Radar interview with, geez, I'm sorry, blanking night, with Jaws and Federighi talking about Siri and, the S Lady, and why it wasn't, the personalized S Lady was not ready yet for prime time. And so, it makes you wonder, why these decisions were made. We speculated a lot on it pre-WWDC as to whether it was retribution for some of John's comments earlier this year, whether it meant that the talk show was just not getting the audience they wanted. But they found plenty of outlets to, that they were willing to go to, or they would have them to talk about it. So that the link I threw in was just one of them, but check them out if you're interested in such things.
I mean, they went to a lot of influencers like iJustine, and of course Joanna Stern interviewed them, and she flat out came out to him and saying, why S Lady, why didn't it happen? And they started with her, and then just kind of made the rounds through the rest of the press. And I kind of commend them for being honest and upfront and transparent about it. They weren't for a while, and they kind of made up for it, because they knew it wasn't a good thing. What happened was when they said nothing, and everybody was speculating, and that what probably triggered a little bit of what John Gruber said. So I mean, I think they must have had a lesson here to just be open, honest. You've got so many people passionate about the Apple in the Apple community that want to know what's going on, and then I at least glad to see that they did make the rounds other places.
And got the story out. Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. Story out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably the most important thing. And Jim, I think you said you hadn't listened to the talk show yet from Dub. I confess I haven't, for no reason other than I just have not had time. Dave, you did. Anything notable or any commentary there about who wasn't at the event?
No, I mean. John was up front to what happened. He didn't understand why. They just opted to something different. I mean, this was they were coming on that show since 2015, so it was only 9 years that they got, and I guess John made up for it by having Joanna Stern and Nilay Patel from The Verge, and a very engaging conversation. It was about a little over 2 hours, and that's which is probably short for a Gruber talk show. So. I thought, Joanne is always very articulate with Apple. She's a fangirl, I guess you could say. And Nilay is very open, honest, and brings a lot of good journalism to what goes on with Apple. So it was definitely an enjoyable conversation. I was kind of listening into it in the background while doing other things, like got to. And just pretty much listen to it. I did listen to it the whole time and actually didn't fall asleep.
Marty?
Yeah, with the article that you've posted, we can speculate on the ins and outs and who upset somebody and who's ghosting somebody from talk shows. Right. But the information that came out, at least what Federighi said, was what we suspected was going on.
Right.
That the original foundation or platform was not sufficient for what needed to happen with the S Lady. And so that changed their direction, and it was not ready for that reason. But we all kind of suspected that's what was going on. Their They want to make it work right instead of just getting something out that doesn't work. So.
And with all the back and forths we've seen with all the large language models of hallucinations and things not working right, and people being told to put rocks on their pizza or whatever, we've laughed at it, we've joked about it, but it does say something about the quality control situation. Not that Apple probably, whenever a new S80 or whatever it's called comes out, that it might not have some issues. I just don't think it's maybe going to have as many, because as Apple does, they're being a lot more intentional about it. So, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I don't think so. They started down one path and found that it wasn't going to get them where they wanted, so they backtracked and hopefully are now on a path that will get them there.
Chuck, who remembers from MacStock last year Kelly Gamont's presentation, and it included not knitting, but knitting. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I got from that, which I thought was really interesting, is that you're going down and you realize you made a mistake, and you just got to realize you just got to undo it and start over. And I think there's a very similar parallel here with Siri. They were going down a path. They realized that path wasn't going to work. You just got to start over. So that's the analogy that I came up with. I thought it was real interesting. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting point, because Kelly and I have done recently her Road to MacStock interview. It's not out yet, folks, so don't go look for it yet. But we were talking about what she did last year with all of us, and what she was trying to communicate. And that's one of the things in there, Webb, that I don't think I've ever had my hand on. Now, what do they call it? A crocheting hook?
Yeah, crochet. Yeah.
Yeah, crocheting hook, and I never have had before, probably never will again, but Kelly got me to do it, and I appreciated just what it takes to create some of those things, and know that I will never be capable of doing it.
Same here.
Not willing to put in the time, and I don't think I have the skill. Yeah. Anything else before we move on this?
No.
Okay. This MacVoices is supported by Clean My Mac, your ultimate solution for Mac control and care. Try Clean My Mac for 7 days free, then use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Have some time on your hands? Instead of playing a game and winning points or golds or levels or whatever, how about winning back some space on your Mac? With Clean My Mac and the return of Space Lens, cleaning out storage is faster and more satisfying than leveling up in your favorite game. Space Lens gives you a visual map of your Mac's entire drive, turning cluttered folders into clean, interactive orbs. One glance shows you what's hogging all the space, huge folders, forgotten downloads, mystery duplicates, and lets you delete what you don't need with a click. It's quick, it's elegant, and yes, it's fun. No more guessing, no more hunting for that other storage category. Just scan, see, and clean. Clean My Mac doesn't stop there. It also clears out junk files, optimizes performance, and even detects malware, so your Mac runs like it did on day one. Try it free for 7 days, then use the code MacVoices20 to save 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices. Thanks to MacPaw for bringing back Space Lens in Clean My Mac and for supporting MacVoices. Dennis Sellers posted this summary of a CNET survey, finds that AI features are a low priority when folks are considering a new smartphone. And we've touched on this a couple times, but this sort of solidified it for me, that either the general public, and we are definitely not the general public, is just not quite there yet with AI, large language models, whatever, and they definitely aren't there yet on the phone. And I know Apple drew a lot of fire and has been sued over some of the advertising they did for Apple Intelligence when it was apparently not ready, and in the time frame it was supposed to be. But I have to wonder, until somebody can really demonstrate this in a big fashion, and has that ability to converse with a large language model on your phone, if it really is going to drive sales, or to the contrary, drive people not to upgrade until it's ready. I don't know. Brian, do you have any strong feelings about this one way or another?
Yeah, but I kind of read it in a different way. I was looking at it, I saw that, AI wasn't necessarily a big determining factor necessarily for people to buy new hardware. But when I'm looking at the top categories of price being 62% for consideration, followed by battery life and storage, it got my mind going as far as, okay, well then think about all the effort and time that all these new features, all these great new things that the OS can do, what is it that would then drive people to get a new device besides it's just their old one wearing out? So that's where my mind was kind of going on this one.
Okay. Jim, I know you're not a large language model user, but just having come back from DubDub, any sense of how important developers feel whatever Apple Intelligence means, how important that is to them?
For developers or on the phone?
Well, developers who are developing for the phone. I mean, is it a big thing that they feel like is missing? Apple's is behind the eight ball, or is it something they're really looking forward to? I know you made a point of talking about how they can bring the different AI models tokens into Swift for coding.
Well, there's a lot of developers that are using AIs for their coding. And up till now, they've either been using Cursor, which is based on Visual Studio, or just doing it in terminal, prompts and then, manually dealing with that in Xcode. So now Apple has built somewhat Cursor-like. I mean, from what I hear, Cursor is still better, but sounds like Apple closed the gap a lot. So, Apple's done a lot to help developers use LLMs within Xcode. And then, so that's during the development phase. And then the flip side is they've added the ability for developers to add LLM-based features using the model that Apple builds into their systems. Of course, that'll only work on computers and phones that have Apple Intelligence. But if you have some product, like a text editor or whatever, and you want to expose some LLM-based features to your customers, you can now use Apple's model.
Okay.
But I mean, that's sort of the kind of thing here that this article is saying that, users don't care. I mean, I think at this point, like, I'm not going to buy a phone based on that. So I agree with the people here.
Okay.
In this poll.
Marty, again, I know you're a bit of an AI enthusiast. Does this surprise you, or do you think it's just too early?
Doesn't surprise me at all. And to know other platforms are really using this as a particular large branding portion for their devices. Another example is Microsoft. I have a Microsoft 365 subscription, and I am constantly getting reminders from Microsoft that I should be using their AI. Don't you want to use our Copilot? Don't you want to add this in? It's like, no, thank you. Not going to do it. And so Dave wants me to come over to the dark side just because he has to deal with the other corporate hacks he works with.
Whoa, okay.
I'm not the only one here on this panel that uses it. I guarantee it.
Whoa.
Don't get me started on higher education.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at the numbers here at all. I'm just surprised how much it's being. My first thought was, I bet you Apple's lawyers would have loved to have this data before, they had to settle a lawsuit to say, you might think it's important we did advertisement on this. And yeah, there were some problems with it, but most people don't think that this is the reason why they buy a phone. It's not a prime reason why they buy a phone. So interesting stuff.
Yeah. Webb, did you want to throw any comments in?
Yeah, I was going to make some sarcastic comments about higher education and the politics of that, but I won't go there, Marty, just for you. So, it's I've been, I don't want to say a curmudgeon. I think LLMs and AI and whatever label you want to put on it has a place. I'm not going to get excited about it until it can solve one of my problems. And I don't know what that problem is, but until I go, hey, I've been fighting this demon for 3 years, and now I can do it through this this tool. Then I'll be all in. I'm not buying a new phone because of this. Quite honestly, I'm buying a new phone because my lease is up on my Apple buying program. So that's what motivates me. But anyway, I think it's interesting. I'm very optimistic about the future of it. I'm just pessimistic about what it does right now.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.